Imagine waking up on a quiet Sunday morning in Hawaii. The sun is shining, sailors are eating breakfast, families are getting ready for church. No one knows that, in just a few minutes, thousands of lives will change forever. By the end of the day, America would be at war. This is the story of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the day that reshaped the 20th century. By 1941, much of Europe was already engulfed in World War II. In Asia, Japan had spent years expanding its empire, invading neighboring territories in search of land and natural resources. The United States opposed this expansion and responded with economic pressure, including restrictions on key exports such as oil and steel. Negotiations between the two countries continued, but trust was fading. While diplomats met, military planners in Japan were preparing a surprise attack. Their goal was simple but bold: strike first and cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet before America could interfere with Japan's ambitions in Asia. Japanese military planners believed that if they could destroy the fleet anchored at Pearl Harbor, the United States might be discouraged from fighting a long war in the Pacific. The operation required months of preparation. Aircraft carriers sailed across the northern Pacific in radio silence. More than 350 aircraft were readied for 2 attack waves. The mission depended on complete surprise. At 7:48 a.m. local time, the first wave arrived. Without warning, bombs began falling. Aircraft swept over the harbor. Battleships were hit. Airfields came under attack. Sailors rushed from their bunks, many with no time to understand what was happening. Some tried to return fire. Others fought to rescue shipmates trapped below deck. One of the most devastating moments came when the battleship USS Arizona suffered a catastrophic explosion after a bomb ignited its forward ammunition magazine. The blast destroyed much of the ship within moments and claimed the lives of over 1,000 crew members. Nearby, other ships were also damaged or sunk. Aircraft parked closely together at military airfields became easy targets. Within less than 2 hours, the attack had transformed the harbor into a scene of destruction. Even in the confusion, acts of extraordinary courage stood out. Sailors rescued injured shipmates despite explosions and fire. Medical personnel treated casualties under constant danger. Pilots managed to get a small number of aircraft into the air to defend the island. Many service members continued their duties despite overwhelming odds. Their actions saved lives and prevented even greater losses. When the attack ended, more than 2,400 Americans had been killed. Over 1,000 were wounded. Numerous ships had been damaged or sunk. Hundreds of aircraft had been destroyed or damaged. Despite these losses, several critical U.S. assets were not at Pearl Harbor that morning. The American aircraft carriers, the ships that would later become central to the Pacific War, were away from the harbor. Fuel storage facilities and repair yards also survived, allowing the United States to recover more quickly than Japan had expected. The following day, Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed Congress. He called December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. Congress voted to declare war on Japan. Within days, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States, and America entered World War II on multiple fronts. The attack that was meant to weaken American resolve instead united much of the country behind the war effort. The Pacific conflict stretched across islands and oceans. Major battles, including the Battle of Midway, the Battle of Guadalcanal, and the island-hopping campaigns, gradually shifted momentum. The war ended in 1945 after Japan announced its surrender following the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the Soviet declaration of war against Japan. Today, the remains of the USS Arizona still lie beneath the waters of Pearl Harbor. Above them stands the USS Arizona Memorial, where visitors pay tribute to those who lost their lives. The attack transformed U.S. foreign policy, military planning, and the course of world history. It remains one of the most studied military surprise attacks ever carried out. Pearl Harbor lasted less than 2 hours, yet its consequences shaped decades of global history. It changed America from a nation trying to stay out of war into one of the decisive powers that would help bring World War II to an end. More than 8 decades later, the events of that Sunday morning are still remembered, not only for the destruction, but for the resilience and sacrifice shown in its aftermath. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more stories from American and world history. There's always another chapter waiting to be uncovered.